We have never seen this before as Mitch Marner in the inaugural game of the Four Nations Cup comes out and delivers an absolutely insane moment for not only Canada, but for the Leafs as well. As Leafs fans are fired up about this. We're going to break down the goal, but discuss more importantly what this means going forward, not only for the Leafs, but for Mitch Marner's career and how this can impact the rest of this season. So stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. Before we get into it, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, about 71% of you who are watching right now are not subscribed. This is the place to be for daily Leafs content. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. If you want to help us towards our goal, make sure to hit that subscribe button. But Darius, we're in the All-Star break, basically, well, the Four Nations Cup break now, which is the All-Star break. And now we saw yesterday something that we obviously have never seen before with the Four Nations Cup here. And it has led to fans being fired up, some crazy conversations being had about Mitch Marner. And let's just dive right into it. I mean, it was a very special moment for Team Canada, but I want to dive into really the impact it can have on Mitch Marner's career here going forward. I want to start with this. So this could be a turning point moment in Mitch Marner's career. This morning on, first off, basically explains what Mitch Marner's overtime goal against Sweden could mean for Marner's confidence and the future with the Leafs. So this obviously is not for the Leafs. The game, he didn't win, didn't give the Toronto Maple Leafs any points. But this could be very big for his confidence in playing under the big stage, under lights for the playoffs this season.
Yeah, and I mean, Nick, personally, and I don't know how everyone else feels about this, but I personally feel like the playoffs are about moments, right? What do you do in certain moments? And I can remember a lot of Austin Matthews moments, William Nylander moments, but not too many Mitch Marner moments. And yes, he does lead the team in scoring in the playoffs, but I don't remember too many moments from him. This is a Mitch Marner moment. I just wish he was wearing a different colored maple leaf on his chest because obviously he was able to do it for Team Canada. Hasn't done something like this for the Leafs yet in a game that really, really matters in the playoffs, let's say. This is a very short tournament and he got Canada a big win. It was a great goal on a big stage. Like you said, there was a lot of pressure. What if Canada loses that game, right? And he came out and scored a big goal. And that shot just shows you how much Mitch Marner should be shooting more, right? Yes, he's a great passer and a great playmaker, but he should be shooting more as well. And what does this do for his career? Now, I feel like people are going to see that quote and be like, oh my God, like roll their eyes. Like, what do you mean do for his career? Like he's 27 at this point, right? And what is one game, one overtime winner going to do for his career? I was saying a couple of videos ago, I think this tournament can have a huge effect on not just him, but Austin Matthews and what they can bring back to the Toronto Maple Leafs. You see it a ton of times in junior hockey where a guy goes off to training camp, in NHL training camp, and he comes back a completely different player, like Easton Cowan, right, for example, or others. You see it in junior. So how are these guys going to be able to go to this tournament, and what are they going to bring back with them to the Toronto Maple Leafs in terms of learnings? I mean, this guy's now playing with a guy who went to the Stanley Cup final last year for the first time in Connor McDavid. He's playing with Sidney Crosby, like all these guys who've won Stanley Cups. So you can pick their brains, Mitch Marner, this is. And same with Austin Matthews, right? Like, what are they going to bring back from this tournament? So yes, I actually do think a moment like that and being in this tournament could have a big effect on Mitch Marner's career. And we'll see what he brings back to the Toronto Maple Leafs because it could be something pretty special.
Yeah, you can also see what people are talking about. We now have proof that Mitch Marner can come up big while wearing a maple leaf on his chest. This is huge. And obviously not the Toronto Maple Leaf on his chest, but the, of course, Canadian one. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not going to change. I mean, it could for Mitch Marner, but it's not going to change anything in the Leafs standings at this very moment. But it's really about what it's going to happen, what's going to mean going forward for the Leafs, especially come playoff time. And I think Mitch Marner does need to shoot the puck more. I mean, we've been saying on the power play he's extremely passive. He passes it always to Austin Matthews. And then when Austin Matthews goes out, you see him have one of the better goal stretches of the season. And John Cooper, well-renowned coach, of course, coach of Team Canada as well, gave Mitch Marner some praise. What can a goal do to a player like that? I don't know. If you're saying that, is that a confidence-building goal? That kid oozes confidence. So I thought it was a big-time player making a big-time play at a big-time moment. And that's why guys like him are on this team. I thought he was fabulous. I mean, he does. He does, like, ooze confidence. However, they don't in the playoffs, quite frankly. And they should have no reason really to ooze confidence in the playoffs. They won one playoff series in the past half decade. So it's at the point now where this is the year where the Leafs need to actually make a push for playoff series wins. And to see this happen in the year where the Leafs are kind of going all in with the trade deadline around the corner, there's a lot of moving things here and a lot of intangible factors that are at play. And he went on to say, it's hard not to say the goal, especially with the assist from Sidney Crosby. And he's talking about his first on his best game, what he'll remember the most. But Binnington was unbelievable for us tonight, making some huge saves, especially in overtime. Our defense deserves a lot of credit, too. We were up against some of the best athletes in the world, and they played with just 5 defensemen for at least half, if not more, of the game. Credit to them, because, of course, Shea Theodore went down with an injury. Credit to them for holding strong while jumping into the rush and being an offensive threat. So, I mean, it's a very mature response as well from Marner there.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, great praise to go back to the John Cooper thing from John Cooper. And I mean, for the last couple of years, ever since the first time the Leafs played Tampa in the playoffs in 2022, he's been all over Marner. Like he loves Marner. I feel like he wants Marner on his team. He is so complimentary of Mitch
Yeah.
Marner and what he does for the Leafs in this league. And I'm not taking that away from Mitch Marner. I think it's just the fact of the matter that Marner hasn't been able to get it done for the Leafs in the playoffs. And I don't remember personally too many moments of Mitch Marner in the playoffs. Maybe a block shot in the final seconds against the Bruins in maybe 2018 or 19, like those moments. But other than that, not too many. But last night was one, and John Cooper is coming out and saying that, right? He does ooze confidence at times, but in the playoffs, it does kind of go away as series goes on. But he is a very important player to this team. And I think it's a very mature comment, like you said, from Mitch Marner. They were down to 5 defensemen. They still got the job done. They were playing a good team. A lot of teams, or a lot of people like to think that this tournament's going to be a runaway for Team USA and Canada. There's some good players in this tournament and really good teams on the other side in Sweden and Finland. So a great comment from Mitch Marner. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can bring back from this tournament with these learnings and playing with some of these guys. And he was, he had a lot of ice time last night too. That's the other thing. Like he played a ton. I feel like he is going to play a ton in this tournament.
Yeah, and you can see kind of the ticker at the bottom. You can see all the players' stats, and of course, Mitch Marner's been playing well. Sidney Crosby had 3 assists, and that's only game one of what's going to be, albeit a short tournament, a very fun one. You can see this here. This is a pretty wholesome quote talking about. Of course, we know Mitch Marner kind of, his idol was Sidney Crosby growing up, and now he got an assist from him. A guy's looked up since day one. Mitch Marner on Crosby assisting a goal. He's going to be pumped. It's going to be nice for sure, and it's going to be really cool to see him. Of course, and talking about his dad. And I mean, it's at the point now where you look at this. I like the way that this tournament has started. It was very intense. There was actually some chippy plays going on in the
Yeah.
game yesterday, which is something you don't usually see in any. Again, it's not an all-star break, but it's a a game that doesn't count towards the actual standings, right? But to see Mitch Marner go out there and do what he did, I think it's at the point now where this is not only a turning point for his career, but this is going to tell a lot about the Toronto Maple Leafs organization in general. If they go another year without a playoff win, if Mitch Marner goes another year without, I mean, he's been performing fairly well in the playoffs, but they need to win games without winning a series. Then, I mean, the question last offseason was about blowing it up, and now they're going to have to actually, consider that if they don't win a playoff series this year. You see this here, leaders in ice time in the 5v5 are two Toronto Maple Leafs, of course, Mitch Marner and Willie going at it together. So it's interesting. It's going to be wild, and I think this kind of just tells, albeit this is, a pretty big moment, this tells a bigger story about how important this Leafs season is, let alone just this game.
It does. And look at what they're doing this season. Mitch Marner and William Nylander, for example, the points that they're putting up and what they're able to do in playing time, even in this tournament and with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. What are they going to take back from this tournament? We know what's happened to this point. But now, after this offseason, a lot can change for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We don't know what's going to happen with Mitch Marner or John Tavares. What if something catastrophic happens in the playoffs and the Leafs organization says, you know what, we're going to go a completely different direction at this point, right? It's definitely possible. It can happen. So, what do you take back from this tournament? And how are you going to apply it in the playoffs this year? Because like you said, in years past, I know last year, they were riddled with injuries and all that. Mitch Marner, for the money he makes at times, you would like him to put the team on his back sometimes, and we haven't really seen that in the playoffs. And we're hoping to see more of that. And he did that last night with Team Canada. There's a lot of good players on that team, and he played a ton. He played in all situations, and he scored the overtime winner. So I want to see that with a different colored maple leaf on his chest.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting to see. We're going to keep up to date with all the latest Leafs news and, of course, any Four Nations Cup things that pertain to the Leafs. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. Listen down below your thoughts there. Thank you guys for watching.